Hey, Paul.
Hey Fab, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Getting over a cold.
That's the worst. Summer colds are the worst.
They
They have no,
are.
they have no place. It's nice outside, and all you want to do is go crawl into bed and sleep for hours on end. It's horrible.
Yeah, I
The
didn't
winter.
I didn't do much of that.
All
So,
right.
what are we talking about
You want
today?
to talk? You want to talk about sales managers and more specifically what they need to focus on. You had three things that you wanted to, yeah, that you wanted them to focus on. So
I do.
I don't know. There's no time like the present. Let's get started. what's,
Perfect.
what's the number one thing a sales manager needs to focus on?
Number one thing that a sales manager needs to focus on is to be a partner and not a boss. And what do I mean by that? A boss is someone who sort of barks out orders. And I could also say a friend. Some people just want to be your friend, so they develop a friendship with their reps, and then when it comes time to accountability and training, it's kind of tough. And if you're a boss,
Mm.
you're kind of barking out orders, like a 1950s military man, and that's hard to do as well. So you need to be a partner. Your salespeople need to feel that you're partnered with them in their success. And
Mm.
which brings me to number two. How do you do that? Right.
But wait.
So
Let's.
okay,
Whoa,
you want to
whoa,
develop number one. Okay, let's do it.
whoa.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
But what does it mean to partner with somebody? Because like you said, it's not about being a friend. Fine, it's obviously clear that you're not about being a dictatorial boss, for lack of a better word. But because I've seen a lot of different sales managers in my career and in my like stint as a consultant. Um, yeah, what does it mean to be a partner?
What does it mean to be a partner? It's a good question, which, and I'll be honest with you, brings me to the second point, but I'll keep it in there because it's
The
very
way I see
important.
it, let's put it that way. The way I see it is you really want to be there for their success, and I think um, although that sounds obvious, like sales managers want their sales team to succeed. I find it boils down to the motivation as to why you want them to succeed. I see. Right. So first you have the manager that's a friend. So they want them to succeed because they're friends, but then you have the whole issues with accountability, and that's actually quite detrimental. Um, but then there's the sales managers. Maybe they're being a boss, maybe they're not. Whatever. Um, they want them to succeed for their own reason, right? Because sometimes they get a commission for every sale that happens, or they have to answer to their boss if their team isn't answering well. And so their motivation is not that they want their team to succeed per se, is that they don't want to look like they're failing. And I think that's a big. I mean, I know we're talking about very deep or high level or deep, whatever you want to call it, but stuff. But I think sales managers need to check what their motivation is. In the same way that you want to work with your salespeople and understand what their motivation is, you need to understand what your motivation is in terms of being a partner with your team. And if the motivation is that you don't want to look like you're not doing things properly, then you'll never be a proper partner with your team.
100%. So if your motivation is only about you and it's not about your salespeople, they'll feel it and they won't feel any sincerity. So they need to know that you're tied into their success.
Yeah.
And that's super important. The same thing with a salesperson, when they're talking to the client, if the client feels, oh, they're only doing this for themselves, then there's not that partnership. And we've talked about this in the past. Salespeople,
Yeah.
to be a good salesperson, you need to be developing a partnership with your prospective client so that they feel this person can be part of my company because they feel they want my success. And it's the same
Yeah.
thing for a sales manager. And how do you
Yeah.
do that? So tactically speaking, how do you do that? Because
Yeah.
some sales managers
Number
they
two.
want to be your partner, but they're talking all the time. They're always telling you what to do. They're going on calls. They're mothering you. They're being bossy with you. They're being your friend. But the best way to do that, which brings me to number two, sorry, not four, two, is it's the title of our show. You got to ask the right questions
Yeah.
because what often happens, the reason that managers fail or that salespeople fail is that if they keep telling you how to do something, you're not really learning it. Sort of like if I send you, if I talk to you for hours on how to ride a bike, and you might say, then you get on the bike, you need to practice, you need to get on the bike yourself. So
Hmm.
the sales manager has to do is ask the questions of asking. So you need to ask the rep on what they think they did right or wrong in a specific sales call and
Hmm.
how they could have made that better. And then they need to follow a path of what should be done during a sales call. So, what are the things you need to do during a sales call? What are the things you need to discover? What are the things you need to say? What are your objectives? And then the manager, through their questions, can can make their representative discover what they did right or wrong.
Hmm.
Of course, you have some training first, but once you've had the training, how do you apply that training is by asking the right questions to make the representative realize it themselves. Because we've said this before, if you say it yourself, you'll remember a lot more than if someone tells you. And if you live it and you ride the bike, you'll know a lot better on how to ride a bike than if you are being told on how to ride a bike. So that's where
Right.
asking questions comes in. And that's a tough thing because if you really think about it, it means that that sales manager should be talking a lot less than their salesperson. If you think of most typical sales manager, think of Glenn Ross, the manager comes in and, he talks 100% of the time and
Hmm.
he's basically the bossy boss and he tells them, do it like this, get shit done or you're out.
Yeah.
Um, and, fear, negativity, we know now through psychology, it doesn't work. It just scares people and people react and you might get, temporary results, but people under stress, under duress don't do well long term. People who are encouraged, who are given, who are made to build their self-confidence do a lot better. So if you
Hmm.
ask the right questions, you can get there and you can make the person realize it themselves. And a very
Right.
specific examples is, let's say you go on a sales call. First of all, you should be doing a lot of sales calls with your teams, and you're on a sales call. You come back instead of saying, "Hey, Fab, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you should have done this, you should have gone there." Even if you're really nice about it, Fab's gonna say, "Well, okay, fine." But if you ask Fab, "Hey, Fab, what could you change in that call?"
Yeah.
And then you sort of guide Fab in the right direction, it's going to stick with him a lot more, and it won't break his confidence because he'll have figured
Right.
it out. Right. By the way, I'm just using the
Right.
name Fab. Right. I'm not thinking of you.
I hear myself in echo. Sounds a little distracting, but it's all good. Um, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think, and it goes. You're right. It does go feed back up into like being a partner, right? Because the best way to be a partner, and I know you like your boy girl analogies, so I'm gonna go down that route. But when you have your spouse, and you want them to succeed, you're gonna you ask questions and stuff like that, and you know who they are, and you know what their motivations are, and like so in a similar way that if you're there to be a partner and you truly want your team to succeed, you're going to want to spend time with them and understand what they're doing and let them make their own mistakes and all that stuff. I think it's and help them understand their motivations and all the stuff you just talked about. So we know that, but let me ask you a side question there in line. But why do sales manager not do that in your mind, in your
Mhm.
opinion? Sorry.
Well, I think you know what. Let's use the parent example. It's sort of like when you're trying to teach your kid on how to do something, if they spill the milk, a lot of people scream at the kid, "Why'd you spill the milk?" It's the same kind of thing. Really, what it should be is, hey, why are you being so brash? Why are you moving around the table so quickly? And what do you think? You just spilt the milk. What do you think you could do differently to stop spilling the milk? So, a lot of people have that parent approach. We just bark out orders. Unfortunately, most of us were brought up that way. We're told what to do, and you got to do it. In school, same thing. You're told what to do, you just have to do it. We
Mm-hmm.
rarely ask people questions. So if you take that approach, if you think of the more consultative approach, if you ask questions to your rep, then your rep will have to think and bring on an answer. And the questions should be open ended. Why did you do it that way? What do you think the outcome is? What do you think could have been a better way to do it? That way, you're leading your representative to think better. Why don't we do it that way? Because it's just it's not in our natural state. We like to tell people
Mhm.
what we know in our head what they did wrong. So if you're a good sales manager, you saw it, you know what happened. You're like, okay, I just
Right.
want to cut the chase and tell you. And you have to resist that, because if you do that, you're not helping your rep. You're just
Mm.
barking out answers. And that's a
Right.
tough thing to do. I mean, guilty number one. I've done that in the past. But if you really want someone to move forward, you've got to build their confidence. And the way to build confidence is let them come to the answer.
Right.
Of course, you got to train. If you're talking about a green rep, you've got to train them on how to do things. You can't just,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
questions. But
course.
once they've been trained, once they know it, then to help them apply it, it comes through that question.
Yeah, I think if I pull from a parallel experience, I over the summer I read the book The Inner Game of Tennis, which is obviously it's about coaching tennis, but the principles apply outside of the game. And one of the things he mentioned in the book, and I don't know if it's a main point, but it's something that stuck with me, is like you can only coach somebody on something that they want to improve on. And I think I feel that sometimes that's an issue, right? Where you're like, let's say you're, because we've done this show for a long time now, you're all about the discovery call, right? But if your rep is screwing up their discovery calls, but they're not ready to change, it's going to be hard for you to have an impact. And that's where going back and asking the right question and understanding what their motivations are, and helping figure out where the rep feels they need to change is going to be a lot more helpful in terms of helping them become better salespeople. Because even though you feel the challenges of the discovery call, they may feel the challenges they're closing, without noticing the link right away, right? So if you're helping closing them, then they'll get better because eventually they will bring back up to the discovery call. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, you're totally right. And really what it boils down to when we're talking about number two is it's patience. It's
Yeah,
patience to let the person find their way, even though for you as an observer, you see it and it's obvious. But when you're living
yeah,
through it, when you're the rep who's going through it, it might not be as obvious to you. So you might have to ask a few questions. So it's sort
yeah,
of like you can see into the room and you know what the answer is. So you just want to tell them. You're saying, "Oh, I'm busy. I only have like an hour in this meeting. I'm just going to tell them."
yeah,
But that unfortunately doesn't work with human beings. Maybe for robots it would work, but it doesn't work with human beings. So to your point, absolutely, you need to let them get there themselves. And it's
yeah.
also, anyways, well, it's a tangent, but maybe if we have time, I'll go on the tangent afterwards. Um,
Cool.
and then
So we had the
number three,
why become a
yeah.
we had the why become a partner. We had the how, ask the right questions, and now you have, or the what. Now we have the how. You have your tactical point of view, and I'll probably add a fourth one, but I'll let you start with
Oh,
your
really? You're going to do plus one? You're stealing my thing.
yes.
Oh, that's okay.
That's okay.
Um,
It's okay.
So the number three is really it's about training, right? So
Yeah,
and there's different ways of training people. There's obviously the standard training where you're having them watch a video, or you're you're
yeah,
you're teaching them a methodology, and that's good. I mean, you do have to do that, right? I mean, if you've got a
yeah,
green team or you're teaching them a new way of doing things, the training has to be done. Now the question is, what do you do with that training? Because a lot of people think,
yeah,
okay, I've trained, now they know how to do it. Now I'm going to keep them accountable to it. Well, unfortunately, a big part of training, the best part, and we've said it in number two, is to act upon it. And how do you act upon it? How do you act upon that training? Is you do a form of role play. And a lot of people say, well, role plays are not realistic. You're right. Sometimes they're not realistic. So then you do what I heard yesterday, and I love it, real play. So you do
mm,
a role play based on a situation that you've either lived in the past or something that you know that's coming up. So, hey, I've got a call next week with Mrs. Brown, and we're talking about her SaaS company, and I want to go through we've had our introductory call and I'm going to be doing the discovery call. And I'd like to do the first 5-10 minutes of the discovery call. That's great. So that's a real situation. And then that person remembers, and I've heard it from other people, and I'm happy because I've thought of this in the past. And I think it's really important that when you're training to really get people to absorb things, they have to practice. And the only way to practice in sales is to do a role play. And the best way to role play is with real life situations that the rep sees will benefit them immediately. Because it's hard to
Yeah.
role play on hypothetical situations. And I've done it a few times to make a point, which is okay. But if you really want them to absorb and move forward, do it
Hmm.
on a real situation. And I,
Yeah.
I also have a plus one too. So let's see if it's the same one. So what do you think of
Oh my
that?
gosh.
What's your
Okay.
take on
Plus
that? On
two. I mean, obviously, that to me, that makes complete sense, and even, obviously, we've done some impromptu role plays, and even sometimes I feel like, yeah, but I rarely ever gonna have a prospect answer the call and be super into it right out of the gate, right? Like it's, like if you don't feel connected to it, it's not gonna help you change, right? Like, um, so yeah, I mean, this that to me is a no brainer. I like what you suggested though, that maybe going off of past experiences, and that's usually why you're hired as a sales manager. I mean, the good and the bad. The bad of being hired because you were a top salesperson, because that's usually the path to sales management. You were the top salesperson. Um, the bad side is all we talked about, like asking, you're not necessarily asking the right questions. You're barking orders. You're trying to get people to do it your way. Um, but the good part is that you've lived things, right? And I think if you're able to tap into that and tap into the difficult prospecting calls and the uh, interesting discovery calls and all that stuff, I think that's where your experience comes in. Your experience doesn't come in terms of these are the questions you need to ask and blah blah blah, right? Because that's how you did it. Where your experience comes in is like in these role plays and these trainings and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, I totally, yeah, that's right. Well, I like what you said there. It makes a lot of sense. Um, and I guess, I guess like we've done a few role plays, and what I've noticed, because I've been doing a lot of these, you're right, and I know you've done some with me too. I guess the thing that I've noticed over the last few years is when the role play when you're doing a role play with a sales representative that means something to them, it's like they really slip into that real situation, and then
Mm,
the fear, the embarrassment goes away because they realize, oh, this is a real thing, and I can learn from this, and I can move forward from this. And I think
right.
that's a real winning aspect. But we shouldn't forego training. A lot of people talk about um, training as though, oh, well, it's a thing of the past. People know what they should be doing in sales. They read books, whatnot. I disagree with that. I think you should have a formal training, and in your training, you should establish some semantics that mean the same to everyone else. That'll help you set up your sales process. That'll help you set up your CRM. So you create terminology that everyone has and that everyone uses. So when we say a discovery call, well, we all mean the same thing. When we
Right.
say when we say a closing, we all mean the same thing. When we talk about introduction, we all mean the same thing. When we talk about preparation, and as much as we all have a description of these different stages, and as you know, in our past, there's some people that use different terminology. Some people use baseball. Some people do use certain. That's all good. But as long as you have a common semantic that works for everyone, and that everyone understands and means the same thing. So don't forego the importance of training, and you should always have a form of training before you jump into a role play that is realistic.
Yeah.
So what's your plus one? I'm
Um,
curious.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not going to surprise you, but to me, a good sales manager needs to focus on the CRM. I think it's just like, over and over in these shows, we talk about the importance of it and how it's a tool and how it should be set up to help salespeople win. And I find like when sales managers don't put energy on their CRM and figuring out like, are my deal stages proper? Like, what does the data look like? Is Paul doing the activities that he said he would be doing? Is, are we asking them to fill out the right information at the right time? Is the view too cluttered and people are getting lost? Like, you could go really deep into the weeds. That to me is like a sign of a good sales manager, because your CRM is the main tool your salespeople are using day in day out. It is what's going to help them close opportunities. Um, And I personally feel a lot of sales managers neglect it a bit too much. They're like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're like, yeah, whatever works. And I don't know why. Because I could say it's an age thing where maybe some sales managers are older and they grew up without a CRM, but I see that happening with younger managers as well. But that to me, that would be the big one. It's, yes, work on your competency, like work on all the stuff we talked about, the human side of management, but you got to also work on the tool side. And fortunately for sales, there's one major tool, which is your CRM. And if at the end of the day, you can't get the right information, your salespeople are lost, they're not updating it. These are all things that are impacting their bottom line at the end of the day. And so you can't be a real partner if you're not helping them with their tools.
Yeah, and just to get philosophical for a second here is I think the problem in the way people implement CRMs is that they do a lot of training. They put it in, right? They train people how to use a CRM, and then there's no follow up. So
Yeah,
the people come in. You're not like this, but maybe other people. They come in, they set it the whole thing up. People remember, as you well know, 30% of what you tell them. So they come in, they remember 30%, and then they're sort of jumbled through it. So they just fall back to their old habits. So I would say the same thing about the CRM. Yes, train on the CRM that's also got a sales process, but then make sure that you follow up and help your reps move through what you specifically
yeah,
expect them to do from CRM. And if they do that, they will realize quickly that, I've said this a bazillion times, and I think you agree with me, is that your CRM is actually a sales assistant.
yeah,
And you see, and the old guard, old farts like me would say, "Oh, your CRM's just there to check up on me, and you want to know what I'm doing." No, you moron. You know how well you're doing because your results aren't there. So
yeah,
so really what it is the CRM's a tool. Yes, of course, it helps the company to forecast and to predict, and it can even help
yeah,
operations and whatnot. But really, it's for you as a salesperson, it's a great tool because it helps you memorize all the steps you need to do. It helps you take your notes. It
yeah.
logs your phone calls. It logs your emails. I mean, come on, when you're opening,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it just allows you to stay on top of your stuff, right? Like I mean, I understand there's some businesses that are very enterprise, and a rep maybe works one or two opportunities a year, and it's maybe easier for them to keep track of stuff on an Excel document because their sales cycle is 18 months because they do massive software implementations and blah blah blah. I understand that, but at the end of the day, those are usually the fringe cases. Most people deal with a respectable amount of opportunities, respectable amount of companies, and respectable amount of people. And if you're not staying on top of it, uh, and that's impacting the experience that they have, and so for sure it's going to impact your sales at the end of the day. Even if you get the sales, it's going to impact the value, the lifetime value of the customer at the company. Like it's a crucial tool, and
yeah,
sales
yeah, no,
managers
for
need
sure.
to be in there daily, tweaking it, improving it, making sure they're getting the information that they need to then ask better questions,
Yeah,
train,
yeah,
role play,
yeah.
real play.
It becomes sort of the organizer, see it as the organizer. You got your closet, it's a mess. Well, your CRM organizes your shoes, your shirts, and everything. And on top of that, it
Yeah,
suggests it reminds you which shirts and which shoes you should wear. It just makes things a lot easier. And you're right, the
yeah,
sales managers that don't take the time to really use that properly are hurting themselves and hurting their reps. So
oh
I
yeah,
totally agree. It helps. It's part of training. Part of training properly is learning to use a CRM. And if you
yeah,
learn to use a CRM, but it's not an easy thing. Some people think, no fault of yours, but some integrators think, okay, just do this, that. It's super easy. Okay, get to it. And you're like, whoa, I'm not used to the CRM. I haven't seen it this way. So you really
yeah,
need, as a sales manager, you need to take the time to make sure that your reps understand that. So, anyways, I think
yeah.
those are the top three plus one. I think we've skimmed over the top. Sorry, you were going to say something. I cut you off.
No, I was just going to close the loop and saying, and that's something I'm guilty of as well. But it's it's just making, as much as possible, your consultant or you as a sales manager, because you're maybe more in the day to day of what's going on, needs to see how the reps are using it. Like why are they not updating? What's going on? Like why, and just why? Like you need to be in there. And that's something I'm maybe guilty enough also of, is like I don't go in and I look into the day to day of a sales rep's reality with a CRM. Um, but if as a manager you're going to be a partner,
It's
that's what
the
you need
role
to do.
play. It's rather than being a role play with the client, it's a role play with the CRM. It's
Yeah,
like, hey, show me how you load something in there. Now, if they think that you're just going to give them shit if you do it wrong, well, that's not good. If you say, no, no, I just want to make sure you're getting it right, because sometimes
yeah,
you need to position it so that they don't feel stupid about not knowing what it is. But some people just say, yeah, yeah,
oh
I
yeah,
get it, because they're embarrassed because they don't, and then they just don't use it because they don't understand if you don't know how to get there. And sometimes it's a simple little, it's just a little tweak. So you have to, as a sales manager, you got to sit down and make sure that all your reps know how to use the bloody thing. And it's not an age thing. You can be 26 years old and you don't know how to use a CRM, and that's fine. The manager needs to take time to learn it. But manager needs to take time to teach it. But the manager also has to make sure that he knows how to do it himself or herself.
yeah, yeah. All right, Paul, you were going to say something before we
I was
step
gonna
back.
say, well, I think you said it well. You got your why, you've got your what, and then you've got your how, right? And
Yeah,
then the CRM, plus one, the CRM is a super important part of the how.
yeah,
So yeah, that's, I think, great session.
yeah. This is fun. This is good.
Yep, it's always fun, Fab.
Fun fab.
Fun,
Awesome.
Fab.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Paul. Go take care of yourself. Go have lunch.
Thanks, Fab.
Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.